All right, so we're real quick. I want to discuss a topic that comes up now and then. Many of you know that I have an extensive background in bodyscape photography and figure studies and things like that. Basically, done a lot of photography where I feature artistic images that are slightly edgy or more risque, images featuring the human form in artistic and sometimes abstract ways. Well, because of that, I get a lot of questions about how to get into that type of photography. And sometimes I get questions concerning kind of that struggle about not being comfortable with that type of photography, but still kind of wanting to experiment and try it out. And look, I didn't just jump into this totally secure and comfortable with this type of photography. I went through a little thing myself for a while where I was trying to figure out whether or not that this would be in my comfort zone. And even if it was slightly out of my comfort zone, if it was something that I really wanted to do. There were a lot of reasons behind that. I mean, I grew up raised Catholic. Okay. So if you know anything about religion and different types of religions, that should tell you something. If you're raised Catholic, you kind of grow up feeling a little bit of guilt about everything that you do. And so the idea that this nice Catholic boy would be shooting pictures of women without any clothes on or with very little clothes on or in sort of suggestive poses, that was kind of a stretch for me. But I got to the point where I'd seen really well done artistic portraiture, very tasteful boudoir and artistic nudes. And I felt like I really wanted to try my hand at something like that. I remember talking to my wife about it. I literally felt kind of like handcuffed, like I wanted to try it, but I just couldn't, for some reason, cross this mental barrier that said that it would be okay or that I'd be comfortable with it. It was kind of a weird situation for somebody who used to be that way, and now I have no qualms about it. It's like not a big deal to me anymore. But I think back on that time, and I understand why people have these questions before they've done those types of shoots, and then they're thinking about wanting to get into it. I remember talking to my wife about this on one of our walks, and she said, look, if it's something that you want to do, you should just do it. You shouldn't feel constrained. I mean, you're an artist. You should go in the direction that your art is telling you that you should go and, try this out. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to do it anymore, but at least you tried. And with that, I gave it a shot, mainly because I started getting requests from clients. I've always had a good rapport with my female clients, and I started getting requests, once I started doing weddings and engagement shoots, and people asked, hey, this boudoir thing, it started sort of getting a resurgence in the mid 2000s. And so I said, yeah, I'll give it a try. Well, around that time, I was one of the few photographers who was openly doing it. There was a little bit of a thing where it was taboo for, if you were a family photographer or wedding photographer, that you would also publicly advertise yourself out as a boudoir photographer. But I didn't let that stop me, and I advertised openly that I also did that type of photography. And so I started getting a lot of clients and a lot of requests. I even had people coming in from out of state to shoot with me. And also around the time, I started getting questions from other photographers about how to get into that type of photography. And one thing that's interesting is I actually got an email from a woman who's married to a photographer who said that he wanted to start doing boudoir. And she actually reached out to me to ask me for some perspective because she was having trouble sort of dealing with the idea that he would be photographing women in these situations where there was not a lot of clothing involved and in these suggestive poses. And she asked me, what is the deal? Like, can you tell me something that would make me feel better about this? Because he's thinking about doing this, and I'm really not comfortable with him being in a room with women in those situations. And I felt for her, and I wrote back and explained to her that, look, when you're doing that kind of work, at least for most of us photographers who do that kind of thing, when you're doing that kind of work, it isn't about what the resulting images look like and what they portray. That in those moments where you're photographing things like that, you're dealing with lights, you're dealing with technical issues, everything in the actual studio environment, even if it's in a home environment, everything in that environment screams, we are working here, okay? It's not a sensual experience with all this gear and everybody's kind of concentrating on the different poses and technical aspects and the little, dealing with making sure that straps are in the right place. And, and that usually you do that with an assistant. My wife would be my assistant during these shoots. And, everybody's working, and I told her that this isn't a sensual or intimate experience. These boudoir shoots involve people who are working together, who are trying to create these images, these fantastical, beautiful images. So it's a collaboration. There really isn't a lot of room for anything that someone should actually feel jealous about. And I suggested to her that maybe she actually participate by assisting him during these shoots, and that she would soon find out that, yeah, this isn't what the pictures, the resulting pictures end up looking like. This is something completely different. It's very professional. Dare I say, it's pretty hard work for everyone involved. Now, getting back to you as a photographer who might be interested in trying this out, whether you're male or female, there are some things that you should be aware of, and I would suggest that you take a look at some of the resources that I have listed below this video in the description, so you can kind of get a handle on everything that's involved, maybe even before you get started with this, just to kind of understand what's involved and to see if this is something that you might want to explore. What we're dealing with is clients who have so many different reasons for why they might want to do photos like boudoir or glamour or some other type of maybe edgier photos or artistic nudes or things like that. So many reasons why people want to do that. There's also a lot of common etiquette that's involved in these kinds of shoots. And there's some standard lighting setups and posing that you'd want to do that really tend to always work, all right? The thing is that when you start doing this and you achieve any kind of, successful shoot where the client's happy and you're happy, it can be really rewarding. People talk a lot about how these types of shoots are empowering for women, and sometimes that is the case. Lots of times women just want pretty pictures of themselves or something, a little album to give to their partner. And no matter what the reason is, it's their reason and the reason's valid to them. And of course, for you as a photographer, it can be really rewarding because it can be lucrative. And it's also something that when it's done right, it can make somebody else really happy with pictures of themselves. And you're the person who put that together. So yeah, if you've been thinking about trying this type of photography out, I really encourage you to look inside, see if it's something that you feel strongly about, that you would be good at, that you could actually offer value to other people with some skill and with your enthusiasm for this type of photography. Maybe you've got really good rapport skills, or you're pretty sure that you can develop them. Go ahead and explore this. It was really great for me, and it might be one of the best things that you could start doing right now. Hey, don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click subscribe. Click that like button also, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. I'm happy to answer some questions about this topic too in the comments below. All right, that's about all I've got for you today. I'll see you next time.